I'd like to call this meeting of the Southbury Planning Commission to order. Monday, May the 5th, 2025, room 205A, special meeting. Everyone join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's see, seating of alternates, I think we're all here, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, we're all here. No need to do that. Let me see this for 1 sec. All right, thank you, sir. All right, we're on D, our Southbury IBM property zone change discussion. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple options for the IBM property. Special meeting was called for a couple of reasons. One, to look at the IBM RFP draft that we all got like a week or two ago, as well as some other options that we came up with kind of in the 11th hour over the last few days with Jordan and some help from other associates that we're working with him on this project to look at, see which one makes sense, not only from a time point of view, but more feasible for the town, whether it's from an economical point of view or just to get the best result for the town. So basically, we can touch base on the RFP, but I want to start with the email everybody got earlier today regarding the option that we thought about for creating a new zone within the zoning regulations for this property specifically. So that if the property's sold to anybody, we have an idea of kind of what to hand the developers that would be acceptable for a development on this site. And we can narrow it down to, the list was kind of provided in the email, but earlier, everybody received this too, yes, Jordan? You saw the email from Jordan regarding some of the options that they did not. But they will get this. Okay, so there'll be an email coming to you regarding some of the options that will not be permitted in this, if this, gets to a vote and gets done by our commission and then to zoning, obviously. And then there's ideas that we'd like to see put in there. So this way we can control whether it's, industrial, commercial, and to make sure that the property gets the right development on it going forward for the town, of course, and for the infrastructure for the town, et cetera, all the above. So I'll turf it to Jordan right now to kind of give us a high-level overview of kind of what he worked on with us, and then we'll take questions, come up with an idea and a game plan. So basically tonight we're going to look at some ideas for this, kind of fine-tune it, then everybody's going to go home, take a couple of weeks to kind of look at this, get ideas back to us, their thoughts. We're going to get final drafts together, and then our meeting in the 20th coming up, we will make a decision on what it looks like to send to the zoning commission and to Gary and his team, and then get feedback from them after their meeting, okay? Did I miss anything from the overview?
Nope.
Okay.
Should be good. So as I'm sure we're all aware, IBM property is for sale at this point, and looking at the property from a reuse perspective, it's pretty evident that commercial headquarters of that size, there's no market for it in the Northeast at this point, and we're likely not going to see that site redeveloped in its specific fashion anytime soon. That's going to be a large weight for the town to carry from a tax-based perspective, and I think at this time it would be prudent for the town to be more proactive than reactive with respect to how that site gets reused in the future. Currently, the zone is R60C. If anyone's looked at the regulations to date, that was a specific amendment to the zoning regulations, essentially to allow for a commercial headquarters of that size to occupy that parcel. Currently, it is zoned for that use or residential. Okay, that use is something that we're not going to be able to see moving forward, likely, and residential in a large-scale capacity on that site would be a large detraction from a tax-based perspective and from a utility and cost burden perspective from the town. Now, how both this commission, the zoning commission, the town as a whole, needs to kind of respond to the zoning is to, again, be proactive, but look at all the use options that are on the table. what that zone is uniquely positioned for and could benefit from, and how we need to zone for it. The two options before us today, there's a draft RFP, so send out a proposal to a potential contractor that the town would work with, and the overall idea about this is they would devise a plan for how that site should be zoned. They would look at things like access, circulation, traffic, visibility, a lot of the features that have been looked at already for the IBM site and considered dramatically, and is the reason that the site is developed and kind of hidden in the current way that it is. The RFP is a potential option to get things planned, to have an understanding of how the town needs to move forward, and then put that kind of game plan and roadmap before the zoning commission to then amend the zone, enact a new zoning regulation, and potentially get a new use for that site. When we start looking at the property, it becomes clear that there's not a lot of uses that would benefit from the circulation with I-84, the visibility of the site being commercial in a residential area or surrounded by residential areas, but effectively completely screened and with minimal interaction between those residential properties that abut it. How we would like to move forward at this point is either through an RFP process or through a concerted plan with the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission and members at large, where we take on the rezoning and get it enacted, get the new zone, get the regulations codified, and start marketing that this site can then be repurposed for a new use, whether it's existing buildings or new structures altogether. When looking at the two options, it becomes pretty clear that an RFP would be a lengthy one. I think the biggest detraction from an RFP perspective is the timeline. We're currently working through the zoning regulation rewrite process, and the RFP's been out for about 4 months, and we've been kind of working back and forth, fine-tuning certain things before actually picking a contractor to do the job. We're right at the end of that process, but it proves that it's a lengthy one. Once that contractor's chosen, they will then come to the town, draw up contracts, and then get to work. And that will likely be a 6 to 8 month process if we went the RFP route. If we ended up looking at the zone from a comprehensive standpoint, putting together the heads of the Planning Commission and Zoning Commission, and devising the best use for that site as both commissioners and residents see fit, then I think rezoning for a use like a commercial or industrial could happen relatively quickly. The site can then be marketed from that perspective once the amendment is made. And then Southbury could hopefully start to move forward with a new use and a new site where IBM currently sits. What we shouldn't look to do is cross our fingers and hope that a developer comes in and occupies the existing 1 million square feet of space up there. It hasn't been upkept very diligently when IBM occupied it, and the potential for the building and utilities to sit longer and decay further is pretty high. So that's kind of the roadmap for two options before this commission. No matter what happens, there's going to be a lot of interaction and effort applied by the zoning commission. So what this commission would be doing is looking to set the plan for that and kind of pass the ball off to the zoning commission once this commission kind of devised the right direction to go with the property and how to rezone it.
Yep. So our input will be basically, and everything you have in the email there, and the write-ups and the, just skimming through the A section there, we gotta come up with some ideas and make sure that this kind of looks, beneficial for this. So what we do is we'll get our ideas on paper here and pass this off to zoning after we'll fine tune it after we're done, based on your questions as well too. But this is important to get this off the ground, and probably just like Jordan said, just ignore the RFP. This is quicker, faster. We can get this done within a couple of months or less. Get this zoned, ready to go, and then so if IBM does turn around, sells the property quickly, we are ready to immediately sit down and talk to whoever they bring to the table regarding it, because the very first thing they're gonna want, probably even before they do their due diligence, they'll come to us and say, what can we do there? I mean, you would think they would. So we wanna make sure we have an open door for that and have a plan laid out for them. Anybody have any ideas or thoughts or comments on kind of what you read in the last email with regard to the industrial zone or the permitted zone, anything of that nature? Ron?
You know, the zoning commission's been working on that project to redo their zoning for a hell of a, sorry. My fault. I didn't turn it on. I got it on. The zoning commission's been working on that project for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Can this project go forward, the rezoning?
Mm-hmm.
Can that go forward while they're still in the process of doing their rezoning?
It would be better if it did, because then if there were any fine tuning that needed to occur at that point, the text amendment could accommodate that. Everything would get referred back to the planning commission regardless. But we're seeing this with respect to section 12, which is a completely separate issue, but the commission has actually requested that that error and discrepancy be corrected before the RFP really kicks on in proper, because we want to make sure that these things are ironed out, and we don't want to give the task to the contractor and then finally in 12 to 15 months get the solution.
Yeah.
We want to be more proactive.
You're talking about section 12 or this?
We're talking about section 12, we're talking in respect to doing a modification at the same time as the
Right,
zoning
okay.
regulation rewrite occurring.
Yep.
Okay, but my question was, they've been rewriting for a long time.
They have not started.
It's just been talk, yeah. It's not started
All
yet.
set up. That's all this has been, is setting up the contractor, setting up the RFP, originating the issue as a need for the town, then working through those
Yeah.
phases to get the project
I
kicked off.
understand that. What
takes too long.
My question was, we're talking about moving this forward rapidly, or as fast as we can. And do we have to wait for them to change, to go through, get the RFP for the zoning rewrite and all of that? That
Nope.
was my question.
Nope.
So we don't have to.
Correct.
No, so zoning will take this
We
on.
would, we would go to them and say, your zone such and such, we need it modified to,
We'll draft up a report, we'll do a draft of the regulations, which you currently have. I've worked on a draft of the Schedule A as well. These things can be modified as this commission see fit before that next meeting that we have at the end of May. And if everything works for this commission, we would essentially pass it off to them at that point with the recommendation that this does get zoned for all the requirements and needs that have kind of been specified. The basic building blocks and tenets that I think would be followed here is we need to understand how IBM's been developed thus far and maintain the existing features on the site, right? So access, lighting, coverage, visibility, everything that that site currently has, any new use, we would want to make sure is followed to a T. So we already have a pretty good roadmap to how to do thoughtful development on that site. It's just setting the regulations and the zone up in a way that it's actually marketable to a use that would be interested in coming to Southbury and imparting such an investment on such a large and crucial site for our tax bases.
Did that help you out, Ron?
yeah, that answers my question thoroughly.
Right, so they'll just create a whole new zone or make a change to the
Yeah.
zone, right? And then it'll be just
My
for that site.
question really was not whether it could be possible. My question was, would it be possible rapidly?
Yeah, they can just create it under what's currently the zoning regs, right?
While they're
And then-
doing something else.
Because they're
they
not
could-
making any changes yet, it hasn't started.
Yeah.
So they can create this new, it will be added into their changes, right, or their rewrite, right? And then we would make, along with zoning, any changes we want to that one zone as they're making their
Okay.
changes. Because when they start this, say they start that, the zoning stuff sometime this summer, it's gonna be a while before it's finished.
Yeah, I know, that's,
So we have time on that end to make any language changes, but the whole point is we want to get this ball rolling so that, as you've seen in the paper and different postings, this is a topic the town wants, well, people want ideas
Yeah.
and thoughts on it, so we need to be proactive like we have been anyway, but at least show a roadmap that we're gonna, work on it.
And Chairman Tirdo and I have had conversations, and we have meetings set up with the chairman of the zoning commission. So the goal is to be in concert with one another throughout this whole project. So if this commission feels there's a need to act expeditiously, conveying that to the commission and the chairman and receiving that that is something that they would in kind like to do and be willing to do, that would confirm everything that you're asking here, Ron.
Cool. Bob Harrison, anything?
Not at the moment.
Okay, Alex, anything?
No, thank you.
Robin?
Good for now.
Nance?
What's the best marketing device we can use once this is taken care of, the zone change is taken, zone language is in Southbury?
So, as far as marketing goes, I've had a couple ideas, whether it be, almost like a one-page or a pamphlet on Southbury, kind of, you can throw to certain developers that are in areas of the state or the overall area that might be high rent areas, and industry might want to actually, exit those places and come to a place like Southbury, given all the benefits that we have. I've not put to paper any of those ideas just yet, but marketing is definitely gonna be one that I'm interested to talk about, and we should further the conversation as this develops.
And include the economic development.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll be sitting on the
And they do
EDC
marketing?
task force, so
Yes.
we'll have a lot of conversations with how this is developing. I haven't been able to attend one of those meetings yet, but that'll be definitely a high-level topic of conversation over there.
Thank you.
Jordan, has that been formulated already?
Yeah, they've already had their first meeting. I wasn't involved, but at that first meeting, Kevin requested that I be involved in the task force, and
Okay.
so that's been formalized.
That's a task force for this specific,
Economic Development Task Force.
Oh,
But one of
okay.
the main items that they're discussing right now is the significant need from
But they
the
don't have
town's
marketing.
perspective to redevelop this zone
have
and
nothing.
get something up there
I see.
that's taxable.
Okay.
You'll see there is a draft Schedule A that has been worked on, and you have the, call it whatever you want code, but frankly, the zone name isn't all that important at this time. But you can kind of go through and get an understanding of what this zone's intention would be if it ended up being a commercial industrial use zone. I've consulted with different towns and looked at a lot of their industrial use regulations. You have a draft of it with you right now that's kind of a truncated version of that, but a lot more work is still yet to be done, but this is a basic building block that if everyone can take some time over the next couple weeks before that next meeting, and if they have any comments, concerns, additions, subtractions, whatever the case may be, you will notice that on the Schedule A permitted uses draft, there are some highlighted items. I would treat those as question marks. And if further conversation can happen at that next meeting, I'd say those are some key items that we want to talk about, and of course, anything else that comes to mind.
Were they highlighted on the, okay. No, they didn't come, there they are. They didn't come through on the first version. Okay.
It's not the brightest color I use, I'll be
No,
honest.
it's cool. I was on when I skimmed through, the first version didn't have it highlighted. Yeah, and it definitely not.
Can I ask another question?
Jordan, do you want to collect any notes or comments in writing, or what, on anything you've provided?
I guess the question would be, how comfortable would each member be individually, kind of sitting down at that next meeting and reading through and conveying those comments? Because
Okay.
if it wasn't gonna be kind of systematic and we could hear from everyone, then I'd say send them to me and we'll make sure that they end up in a report.
Okay. All right,
So it's at your preference, Robin. I wouldn't wanna,
Okay.
push you either way.
okay,
Both will
They're
work.
not major.
So does anyone have any comments on the idea at this point of doing this instead of going down the RFP route? Anyone, I mean, obviously, if you're against it, say something. If you're for it, we'll talk about that, obviously, but anyone do they not feel this is the right direction? Okay, good. I think it's the way to do it then.
On item number 4,
Yeah? Yeah.
the first arrow on your email. talk about increase in maximum lot area.
Oh, I guess we're gonna,
Which one are you
I
on?
don't- Item number 4.
Maximum lot coverage shall remain as defined, is that?
guess we'll go
Professional
Yes.
now.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, so this is the special notice for the new draft, that's this document right here.
So that was the other one then.
It's room number 4.
Special notice, top one. Go ahead, Ron.
Item number 4, where you talk about lot and bulk requirements.
He is on the other one, my apologies.
That's the one I was on.
Increase the lot area.
What you see there is a note that means the existing R60C, if it notes an increase, it's an increase from the existing R60C requirements, base requirements.
Oh,
So if
okay.
the existing R60C, as IBM currently has it,
Yes.
it has a base requirement of 40,000 square feet an acre. I don't have that document in front of me, but I'm just referencing it. Then an increase on the new zone would be denoted by that note right there.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, Vance? Anything?
No, no. It's not- Go down, number 4, it's maximum lot coverage 10% anyway.
Keep going. Nope, too far. That's fine.
So parking and loading?
Yeah, don't worry about it. I will say the thought about, or the thought surrounding an RFP, was in large part around the opportunity for public participation. I would like this commission, and I'll be advising the zoning commission to do the same, and that would be involve the public and have an interaction back and forth as best we can. We don't want the conversation to explode into something, unproductive, but what we're seeing in other towns are developers coming in, residents feeling ramrodded, and then the development, whether it be for the best use of the town in that site, gets appealed and held up in court battles for, an indefinite amount of time. This is a great site. We have opportunity for good uses on that site. It's been developed already in a spectacular way, and further thought and consideration for a new development should still take place on that site. But the foundation has been laid and the building blocks are sound. How we move forward, we still want to coordinate with the town. We still want to involve the residents so they know what's going on and how the area might change in the future. But I think once the education comes out and the information regarding the benefits of that site, the options become clear with how we need to move forward. And as long as we're being communicative, I think we'll see the benefits of that at the end of this project.
What do you suggest the process be for the public involvement?
Possibly, we have some, whether it be, a work session or an open session with the public. Definitely, conducting surveys of the area and getting the public feedback on potential uses after the nitty-gritty of that site and all the pluses and minuses get kind of laid out for people. I think then you're in a better understanding and a better standpoint to make a statement with how that site can be reused in the future. I think education's gonna be a huge aspect of this, because there's a lot that people just don't know about the site. If you lived in Southbury for 10 years, there's a good chance you've never driven up there or frankly seen the building, because it's screened and positioned and constructed in such a phenomenal way. And these are core tenets that we'll want to follow with the development in the future. So planning and zoning will definitely be a crucial part in getting that done.
Public participation that we used for Southbury Training School was very effective, I think. Maybe we can follow that.
I can reach out
structure.
to Mr. Collins with SLR and get some advice on the parameters with which they went through that study and those surveys, because SLR was the group that did that study
Yeah,
for
we
us.
We have the documentation though, so we don't have to involve SLR maybe.
Not so much through a contracted standpoint, but just a, friendly communication standpoint. I think we could contact them and hopefully get some assistance with how a productive survey could be done if you're trying to follow that roadmap that was done for the training school study.
Yeah, with no because we don't want any push for any particular use, and they're just one entity. That's what I mean. The process was good.
And that's what I'm referring to, yeah, and consulting with them about the process.
Yeah, hopefully by the time we're done with this process, we've outlined, 4 or 5 or whatever the number comes down to of options for utilizing for the property.
Yes.
It just makes it a little easier for the town. And then, it could be the public hearings and all that will get out of control if we don't have an idea for developers.
Yeah, clear goal. and path
Clear
forward.
goal so they know in advance, and most are gonna wanna know that.
Yeah.
So I think the ultimate goal here is Jordan and I are gonna meet with Gary from zoning, chairman of zoning, coming up on a couple other applications, so we're gonna have this as a topic as well. We will fine tune our notes from that point, share them with everybody, and then we will get them over to Gary, so he can share them with his team. And then we will, well, this is in the next 2 weeks by the time our meeting comes up. And we'll get it over to Gary, and then his team will look at it. I would think we'd get it back from them by our June meeting, maybe earlier, I don't know.
They would set the stage for it probably at that June meeting,
I
which
would
means
think.
it would get referred to you guys by the June meeting,
Right,
if they actually kick that off in proper.
which I'm sure he will. He'll put it on top of his list.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
Because we talked about 12 point, section 12, he was on that too, so
Mhm.
I think he'll do that. And then it'll get back to us for, a referral from zoning, and then we gotta give them an idea of, any our thoughts on it or any changes, and then give them positive or negative referral back, which I'm sure it'll be positive in this case, because we developed it, I hope so. And then get it to come to fruition. So I guess in the next 90 days or so or less, we should be well on the way to, for answers for people, not only townspeople, but obviously IBM, and then whoever comes around that's interested in, courting the project.
I know we haven't had any questions on this, but would you mind getting just a formal direction from the commission, one way or the other?
Which direction?
Yeah.
So everybody did read through the RFP, right? It was pretty straightforward. Everyone understands what an RFP is, it's pretty easy, okay. Just give us an idea, or let's take a vote on it, I guess, or decide, I think,
Just so we have a goal.
yeah, we'll make a motion and a vote to decide which direction to go in. Everybody who wants to go forward with the new option or the RFP, so can we get an idea of, Robin, what makes sense to you?
I like the new option,
Okay.
the industrial.
Yep, Lance?
Same, yes, I agree with the time
Okay,
concern.
I agree with that too, so Alex and the rest of the team, that end?
I'm not seated, so I won't vote.
I actually, oh, that's right, you weren't, that's right, because we're all here. Your opinion matters anyway, though.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're not actually voting, so you can have an opinion on it, it's fine. Ron and Bob, what do you think?
New option.
New option? Okay, so I'll make a motion to send the new option for creating new zone to, as the next project or come to fruition on this going forward.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of going forward with the new option?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have a clear path forward.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, everybody, that works.
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to make a motion to adjourn, because it's a special meeting, so I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Okay, meeting's adjourned, thank you. I don't need, you want a hand copy of the, or hard copy of the RFP, you want one for yourself? No? I don't need it either. I have
Sure
it.
it doesn't stay now.
Okay.
Did you go to, Christ, the people that want to put in the parking lots?
Yeah.
Did you? Do you see any problem?
No.
I didn't think there would be. I was busy, but
No, it's pretty straightforward.
that's what I thought it would be, so I wasn't that worried.